Organizations today are dealing with a complex attack surface. There's been a plethora of new applications that organizations are deploying to support an increasingly remote workforce. All of that opens up holes into the organization's defenses, and organizations are tasked with now defending against those holes. In this case, we've got a manufacturing company that experienced a ransomware attack. There's 2 or 3 things that I'd like to highlight about this. Firstly, this attacker was able to get from an internet-connected manufacturing system to the rest of the network, including payroll systems, confidential data, and so on. Secondly, the way this attacker performed command and control was by using a common online messaging app. Not something that is malicious, but something that is extremely common, extremely hard to block. That is precisely the type of attacks that defenders today have to protect against. So why do these breaches then have a significant impact on the organization? It goes back to that example that we talked on the previous slide. Once you get onto the inside, it's really fairly open to get from, let's say, a manufacturing system or an IoT system to the payroll processing system, or from the IoT system to your SMB file shares. Essentially, we've got a wide open network with the traditional notion of a perimeter to keep the quote-unquote bad stuff out. What we really want to get to, though, to mitigate against risk is a much more zero trust kind of mindset where you've got a default deny policy in place so that an attacker can't get unfettered access to the rest of the network. Now, this picture looks great, and it was probably not that hard to build in PowerPoint, but it's a lot harder to do in practice. That's where we've got some great guidance from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA as they're popularly known. CISA is part of the US federal government and produces guidance across a variety of topics for the government, but also for the private sector. If you're looking to do business with the US government, or you're doing business with some other entity that does business with the US government, you have to be cognizant of the CISA guidelines. One of the documents they've released is the Zero Trust Security Maturity Model, where they walk you through a step-by-step process on how to get to a zero trust posture from where you are today. If I were to summarize that document, 3 things jump out at me. Firstly, zero trust needs pervasive, distributed, identity-aware microperimeters. What that means is you can no longer rely on your perimeter firewalls or your perimeter controls to keep the bad stuff out. You have to account for microperimeters that surround each and every asset of significance within your organization. Secondly, you need to have continuous observability. This is the suspenders in the belt and suspenders approach, if you will. Just because you've allowed access doesn't mean that that access should perpetually be allowed. You got to keep an eye out on whether the device that access was allowed from is now misbehaving or has been compromised. And finally, when that does happen, or if that does happen, you want to be able to respond rapidly and remediate the threat. We believe that the network is the foundation and the center of this approach. CISA breaks down their zero trust networking guidelines into 7 key areas, starting from network segmentation, network traffic management, traffic encryption for protecting data on the wire, network resilience so that your network is robust and doesn't go down, and then visibility and analytics, automation and orchestration, and finally governance. We won't get into every single detail of this today, but as you can tell just from those labels, these are things that really, really matter to organizations. Things like microperimeters, things like having a network that is highly reliable and can sustain an attack on it, the ability to do changes in a highly automated and orchestrated manner, and to get that real-time visibility into both threats, but also performance and network operations at any time that you need. Arista's approach to zero trust takes the guidance from CISA and bakes it into the switching fabric. We have a comprehensive platform of zero trust networking capabilities that cover the gamuts of access control with a CloudVision Agni product that is a network access control solution. We have observability platforms that take data off the network and provide real-time telemetry, real-time analytics through CloudVision. We have segmentation solutions that allow you to identify what is on the network, the identity of those devices, the identity of the users behind those devices, and then automatically apply policies. We've got threat detection capabilities that are now built into the switches as well. Without the need for overlay network security appliances, this threat detection capability can provide real-time visibility into threats that are exhibiting lateral movement or spreading throughout your network, something that ransomware is very, very notorious at doing. Finally, we've got confidentiality capabilities that encrypt data on the wire. So even if you've got a bunch of legacy workloads that you can't deploy the latest and greatest security controls on, the network can act as a strong compensating control. But we also recognize that the network is only a part of your zero trust infrastructure. That is why we have an open API with a wide variety of partners that we integrate with and provide open APIs to. This is just a subset of those partners, but it's very, very easy to build new integrations with our API-first approach. Let me give you an example of how this integrated portfolio works. At the core of our ZTN portfolio is our segmentation solution. As the name suggests, our segmentation solution places devices into specific network segments and controls access based on that. But it's not doing that solely based on IP addresses or subnets or VLANs. It's actually leveraging the identity of the device and the user. So for instance, you could say, look, this is an IoT device. I want it to only be able to connect to the controller, but nothing else. No reason why it should have access to our payroll processing system, for instance. So that default deny policy is something that you can do now natively with our identity-aware segmentation. That identity comes from our CloudVision Agni solution, or CV Agni. CV Agni integrates with a variety of third-party identity and access management solutions, configuration management databases, and ITSM solutions. It takes that information and can feed that both into segmentation, but also provide admission control capabilities. We also have encryption that provides end-to-end encryption from switch port to switch port. Finally, the suspenders, the network detection and response. This is when, if you detect something that has gone bad, maybe that device was already allowed on the network, but that device now is attempting to enumerate file shares on your network. No reason you want to keep letting it do that. So there's a feedback loop that allows us to update the segmentation rules, update the admission control rules based on real-time behaviors of what's going on the network. Let me end with a quick example of a real-world customer that has this entire comprehensive solution deployed. This is one of the largest media and entertainment companies on the planet, and they were looking to replace a competitive vendor with a solution that was designed for media and entertainment, but that also had security built into the network infrastructure. They deployed our comprehensive portfolio and saw immediate benefits in terms of detecting things like red teams, but also external attacks. As a media and entertainment company and as a news company, they're very concerned about nation-state attacks against their infrastructure to spread disinformation, to compromise journalists and their sources, and having a comprehensive network-based solution that can deal with everything from IP cameras to journalist workstations was very important for them. And in Arista's comprehensive network and security solutions, they were able to get a single solution that covered all of these requirements for them. Finally, we're incredibly proud to be a leader in this space. Arista was named a leader in network analysis and visibility by Forrester in 2023, with great scores in a variety of categories, from identifying all of the devices on the network, which is really important to zero trust networking, to then being able to take action based on bad behaviors or threat detection and very quickly isolate a device or quarantine a device. This comprehensive offering that we've presented today allows you to not just build network security, but to build a secure network. Visit us at arista.com/security to learn more about how Arista can help you with your secure network.